So this is going to be super informal. I'm going to download a bunch of information, and then you guys can ask me questions and whatever you want to do. I'm Trey Speegle. I first came to the pyramid, I first moved to New York in 1980, and I moved to Tompkins Square Park in 82. And at the time I was working at Vogue, and I remember I told a fashion editor that I was working with that I was moving to Avenue B, and she grabbed me by the arm and said, "You can't move there, you'll be killed." I wasn't killed, I was mugged in front of my building as the early initiation, but I think it was a Sunday like this, I wandered over to the pyramid, and they were rehearsing, I think, Family Feud. They might have called it something else, but they were rehearsing Family Feud, and after about 10 minutes, they were like, "What's your name? Come up here." And so I was watching it for 10 minutes, and the next thing I knew I was in the Family Feud. I don't know what part we were doing, and that was kind of the beginning. That was the kind of club it was. You just sort of, everyone was like, "Hi, who are you? Here, wear this wig." So at the time I was working at Vogue and then later at Vanity Fair, and I was in the art department, and we got a lot of, I should pay attention to you because I know you're filming here.
Oh yeah.
We had a Polaroid film closet, so I kind of helped myself. I was a very low paid designer in the art department, but I helped myself to Polaroid film, and I would take it to the pyramid. And it's so much more work than you think it is. Now everybody's taking a picture of everything, but you had to have this heavy camera, packs of film, which were $1 a shot, even though I wasn't paying for them. I knew they cost $1 a shot, plus your flash bars, because there was no, daylight at nightclubs. So it was a lot of stuff to schlep around. So I didn't have it all the time. And as you can see, not that many people photographed at the pyramid. Lynn had her camera there. Nelson Lyon was videotaping, especially in the early days. And there just aren't that many pictures. People didn't take that many photographs. So the best thing you can do really with a Polaroid is like head and shoulders. So I did a lot of head and shoulders pictures. If you guys got a chance to look at these, if you want to move up and look while I'm talking, you're welcome to do that. Like I said, it's going to be really informal. So this is the Superstar collage. If you can name everybody, you get a prize. I don't know what that prize would be, but I'll just run through some of them. Pat Hearn, who had a gallery on 5th Street and then on 9th. John Dugdale, photographer. John Sex, I'll tell you a story about Delilah, his snake, and the trip to LA. Cookie Mueller, Quentin Crisp, Taylor Mead, Warhol Factory superstar. Patty Astor, who just passed away last month. Seng Kwang Chi, John Waters, who performed at my Straight to Hell night. Katie Kay, Diane Brill, who I met here a couple of weeks ago and walked through the show. Benjamin Liu, who was Andy Warhol's assistant and a good friend of mine. Sylvia Miles, Keith Haring, and Fred Woods. So after I would go to the pyramid, after a while, I started making friends with a lot of the drag queens. And one of the ways that they knew who I was when I was working at Vogue, they would have jewelry giveaways and makeup giveaways. A lot of times it was like one Chanel earring, or they were getting rid of stuff. And I just wasn't wearing it myself, but I would pick up these things and come to the pyramid with a bag full of, a YSL compact, which at the time was probably 40 bucks. So I met a lot of people, and they would always see me coming with my makeup bag. Like, "What do you got?" So that's how I met a lot of these queens. And I was friends with this guy, Victor Weaver, who took over Straight to Hell magazine from Boyd McDonald. And Straight to Hell was sort of like Grindr in print in the 70s. It was like my gym teacher, my dad's best friend, like true rest stop sex. It was like kind of true sex stories. And so my friend took over the magazine, and we can actually walk to this part over here. We can come back to Andy Warhol over at the limelight there. This is a lot of pyramid drag queens that I'll talk about. But this is Straight to Hell. It doesn't say it here, but I also designed these posters. And this is the cover of Straight to Hell. If you haven't seen it, This is me on the cover. And this is, you can, welcome to walk up and look. But they're signed by Taylor Mead, Cookie Mueller with a lip print, Fran Lebowitz, which says, "To Trey, thanks for the memories, your friend Fran Lebowitz with a frowny face." And then John Waters, "See you in hell." Which is pretty good. I thought that this was because of Straight to Hell, but apparently he likes to sign this. Like, he signed that for other people too. So I thought I was unique in this because of Straight to Hell magazine. It just happened to fit. So when we first started doing Straight to Hell, it really didn't have that much to do with the magazine. I just invited people to do the show, and the first couple of months was Quentin Crisp, Kenneth Anger, Taylor Mead, Cookie Mueller, Fran Lebowitz, John Waters, and later on, Ann Magnuson, John Sex. You can see we had Eric Ryan, who at the time was a porn star. When Kenneth Anger came, he wanted to show Scorpio Rising, which was fine, but he wanted to play the sound. And it's 45 minutes long. And it was 11 o'clock at a nightclub, and you're like, we're not gonna watch a movie. So I think we played it, and then the DJ still played, which he wasn't very happy about. But those nights were kind of amazing because during the day I was working at Vanity Fair, and then on the Sundays, we sort of made Sunday night a gay night. And before that, it wasn't a thing. It kind of became a thing after that. I'm not tooting my own horn, but it's kind of true. And later on, after I had a falling out with Victor, I morphed Straight to Hell into Bad Boy, and we did it at Danceteria, and then later at Limelight. So, talking about John Sex, we were actually good friends, and do you guys know who John Sex is? I mean, the people that I know who are friends here do. The name is famous. He was a performer that was like a combination of like Liberace. It sounds like it was a sex act, and looking at this poster, it looks like a sex act, but it wasn't really about sex. He was very funny, really good-natured. He had really super teased up, like bouffant hairdo, and he did have some original songs. And he performed with friends of ours who performed with Wendy Wild and with April Palmieri, his Bodacious Tatas. And this was a poster. He was also a graphic artist and designer, so he designed this poster and misspelled it and silkscreened it himself. I had this for years and didn't even realize he had misspelled it, but that's not how you spell command. I think you might want another M. So this is more pyramid people. The first Polaroid show that I had was in 2021, and you'll see later on the book is in the office. But these are from, this set is from the first book, and the second volume of the book came out for this show. There's John again, Joey Arias, a painting of Klaus Nomi.
Philipini. And
I couldn't remember his name. And this guy was a Straight to Hell performer. Do you remember him? He was a bartender too, right? And then there's another guy in the book that has a cast on. Philip, I can't remember Philip's name. So here's some more characters too. These were all shot in the dressing room. This is Alexis Delago, Joey Arias, John Sex. This is an in memoriam one. This is Philly Abe. She died a couple of years ago. This is Michael Stewart, who was beat up by the police and went into a coma and then later died. He was a busboy at the club. Nancy Brooks Brody, who just recently died as well. And that's Victor Weaver, Straight to Hell editor. Here's me and Brian Butterick.
Chino.
I always want to say Rico, but I know it's Chino. Yeah. And then, I brought this book too. So this is a pyramid poster by, you don't have to follow me on like that. I just had a kind of inside Hollywood story. But this is by Stephen Tashjian, who has this amazing hand lettering. And after Warhol died, a friend of mine, Yolanda Cuomo, was hired to design this double volume set of books that Warhol did in the 50s for friends. 25 Cats Named Sam and One Blue Pussy. and Holy Cats by Andy Warhol's mother. Well, Andy Warhol's mother, that's not really a joke because she did this lettering for the books. And when we were hired to do the slipcase for the book, Yolanda and I came up with this kind of color panel thing, but we needed to add some information that said the names of the books, then Panache Press at Random House, and then per on the sides. Well, that's Stephen Tashton's lettering. That is very much like Andy Warhol's mother's lettering, which no one would ever know. But no, his mother was not around to write this other stuff, and we didn't piece it together. So that's Stephen Tashton's handwriting.
What year was that done?
The book, the facsimile book is maybe 88 or 89. It was right after he died. He died in 87. And I have some other things in here too that I can show you. When I was working at Vanity Fair, I wrote about the pyramid in the kind of listing section. Hi, Angel.
Hi.
Hi, we're right in the middle. But you've heard all the stories. So, what was I saying? Vanity Fair. Oh, so I wrote about the pyramid for Vanity Fair, and it was just like a little listing. I have a copy of it. It's not actually in the show. And I had this photograph of John Sex with the snake over there in the article, and the editor of the magazine, Leo Lerman, was deathly afraid of snakes. So when the layout came around, his assistant was aware of his fear of snakes and said, "There's a snake on the page," and he said, "No snakes." So I had to switch the picture with Hugo Oropesa, and this is Hugo. So we ran this photo, and it kind of happened last minute. So when the magazine came out, I brought it into the pyramid, and I showed Hugo, and he said, "What the fuck? Why did you do that? My family doesn't know I'm doing drag in New York." And I was like, "Oh, it has his real name in there." I was like, "They don't read it." So I think you're safe. And the story about John Sex. So John and I went to LA together, I think it was 85, sometime around 85. I swear this story is true. He took Delilah in a pillowcase through security and onto the airplane and hung it on the back of the seat. The live boa constrictor that's about 12 feet long, and I knew I'm really afraid of snakes as well. And so I said, "John, just don't show it to me. I know you have it." So, you know when you sit on the plane and there's like a video screen in the bathrooms right there, there's no seats in front of you, like a wall. So he hung the snake on the back of that, kind of on that wall, and I was here and he was there and another guy was sitting here, and the guy was looking at the pillowcase like kind of wiggling around on the back of the seat. And I was like, "Don't say anything." I was like, "Just don't say anything." And he never showed the snake to me. He performed with the snake. I managed to avoid seeing Delilah up close. And the further proof of the snake story too is when before I was working at Vanity Fair, I was working at Vogue, and the same editor who was at Vanity Fair, who was the editor-in-chief, was the features editor at Vogue. And the first issue that I started was the Natasha Kinski snake photo, the double-page spread with the snake and the bracelet. And that was November 8, I think that was November 82. And my friend, the assistant, had to staple those pages together so that Leo wouldn't accidentally see a snake. Yeah, I think she did have a naked pregnant. Yeah, and I had, it's another story, but Polly Mellon told me the story of taking a picture of the snake too. They took 2 shots. They brought the snake in, laid it down, and they picked the snake up and took it out. And that was it. Amazing. If we want to go on the other side of this wall, I can show you a few flyers, and then we can go in the office and I'll show you some other stuff. Will I lose the crowd if we walk in the other room? There we are. Oh, there you are. Should have stayed with you. I'm not paying attention enough to the camera, am I?
Oh no, you're doing great.
Okay.
I'm catching you.
So there's a few things for Mike. You guys come all the way in if you're some on the side, go over there, don't worry. Some of my collection is in flyers and things. This is the Michael Stewart protest flyer. Jane County, and this flyer is done by Stephen Tashjian, who did the poster over there as well. I had a t-shirt company, and I'll show you later some shirts that I did for the pyramid, but this was shot by Joseph Astor of Happy Face. And this is the little card that goes with it. Miss Happy Face says, "I'm happy you're gay." And apparently I'm her favorite. There's a John Sex flyer. There's a Michael Stewart flyer for benefit. And Diane Brill, who's also in the book, came a couple of weeks ago and we were walking through looking at these things, and she said that that picture was her clothing design, and that was a fashion shot of Michael. And I knew Michael not very well because he died. Yeah, the trench coat picture. That's a Brill
Cops
design.
beat him up in the subway.
Pardon? Yeah, cops beat him up in the subway, and then he went into a coma, and then he died.
Yeah.
And it was that was one of the, besides AIDS death, that was one of the first kind of shocking, terrible things that still kind of haunts everybody. But this actually, speaking of more death, this actually isn't a poster. Many people think this is a poster because they blew it up for the show, but actually this is the original. This was a benefit from Martin Burgoyne, and if you guys didn't know Martin, a lot of people know him now because of Madonna's show. She's been kind of paying tribute to him with big blobs of him and Keith. But these are drawings by Andy Warhol of Martin. And then this is the inside, which you see everybody's listed here. Jody and Magnuson, Edwige, Katie Kay, David Ilku, Tom Rubnitz. So yeah, Keith made this. And I remember at that benefit performance, he and Martin and Andy had just come back from Madonna's wedding, which was a huge scene with helicopters blowing tables off, and it was like, now it's kind of typical, I guess, but in the dressing room downstairs at the Pyramid, I remember him showing me pictures from the wedding, which was kind of a big deal. So we can answer questions, and then I was going to take you in the other room and I can show you some t-shirts, but if we're too many people, then I can bring the stuff out here. This is some more stuff. There's a lot of Keith Haring stuff in here that didn't make it into the show early. When I was at Vanity Fair, I kind of facilitated Keith doing the cover of the magazine. This was February of '83, 4? Let's say 83, 84. Sticker unstuck. There's Klaus, Obit by Danceteria ad. Sorry. There's John Waters in the dressing room downstairs with Paula. There's that famous photo that never made it in the magazine, and Hugo's gigantic Polaroid picture that was only slightly larger than a postage stamp. This is the early Keith invitations to a show at Chafrazi in '88. This is '82, a PS-122 invite.
Did you design these?
I didn't. I just collected them.
Did Keith wear Diane Brill's clothes there?
I don't know if he did. The photograph of him that I shot, actually you can't see the whole thing, but for his party of life, he was wearing the yellow Sprouse tuxedo. This is Keith's memorial at St. John the Divine, which kind of has the whole program.
What year was that now?
90. Yeah, this is 90. This was before that. This is 86. This is Absolute Herring at the Whitney. This is, sorry if I close it too fast. Keith used to do these like collages from newspapers. So this was a Keith collage for a show at Club 57. And then on the back, he's listed, typed out 120 something people who were in this zine show. It's like just a Xerox show. So I'm sure they were just stuck on the wall and not framed at all, but like everybody's listed here. A lot of pyramid people. And what else? That's a Now Explosion calendar, if you guys remember the Now Explosion. They came from Atlanta with Bunny and Rue, kind of in the early days. It's all signed. That's really funny. They were amazing. This is Kwang Chi's memorial card. He died the same year as Keith. Kwang Chi did a lot of photographs of Keith's early stuff. The pyramid in the Wall Street Journal in 1980 something, early, very early. For some reason, I can show you I have this book, but some reason I saved this from the Surgeon General Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome flyer, which everything we talk about in this show, it's like the subtext of everything is that all of our friends were dying. And it's a bummer to talk about it, but like whenever you were here, if you were here at the opening, when you come here now, you just see like gone, and been gone for 35 or 40 years. So it's fun to talk about all of this stuff, and at the same time, you know, Klaus died really early. I think he died in '82 or something. But by the mid '80s, there was just a memorial every month, you know, and you guys who lived through it, you know.
And then we were lucky that some people are HFA now and not.
Yeah, there people survived, you know. So when people complain about being old, it's like, you know what? A lot of our friends didn't get the privilege to be old and complain, so you can't really complain.
And a lot of people we thought we would have to say goodbye to.
Yeah, it's true. Plenty of people who should not have lived. They refuse to give up their ghost. Rene Ricard was one of those people. He lived, he's dead now, but he lived for so long, everyone's like, borrowed time. Completely borrowed time.
Trey, I want to ask you about John Sexton, the snake on the train, on the plane.
Yeah.
Did he have an issue getting off the plane with his snake?
I was with him the whole time, and I don't remember anybody questioning it. I still find it hard to believe you can't bring a bottle of water on an airplane now, but he brought a snake. Like,
It was before
if you wanted to bring the
Turn
water,
to the airport 5 minutes early and that's it.
exactly. Whatever you wanted to bring, you just have the snake swallow it, and you get it on the other end. Your drugs, just here, just swallow this, Delilah, and don't bite down hard. Does anybody else have any questions? Some people are making a documentary about the pyramid, so they know all of this stuff and more. There's invitations for the benefit for.
So June 2nd at Baker Falls, which is
Oh, yeah.
the former Pyramid Club, is the benefit for my
It's just
film.
called Pyramid the movie, right?
Pyramid Club, the movie. It's
Right.
got some of the original performers will be there. John Kelly, we have Floyd, who was there a lot. Samoa, he was there really early. And then
There's Polaroids of Samoa, yeah.
yeah, and then a band made up of like the Swans, and really, it's a great band, 3 guitar players.
So it's Sunday, 2 weeks from today.
Sunday, yeah.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks, June 2nd.
Yeah,
Come.
you should go there. I have,
Thank
I can
you.
show you a few other things. I have some T-shirts and stuff. If you want to see, we can go in the office. If you guys want, and my book is for sale in there too. You can end the tour by buying souvenirs. There's also the we started a nightclub book, T-shirts. There's Female Genius memorabilia, albums. So you can go in there if you want. It'll fit a lot of people. So, does anybody else have any other questions? No? If you think of anything. Thanks for coming. Thank you for having me. I told you it was going to be informal.